one of the most interesting things is people say all the time, agents say all the time, we don't sell premium, don't sell premium. Look, what are we selling at the end of the day? We're not sell. What we're selling is trust. The whole reason of building agency was never so we could sell. Because if you only focus on that, you will never be successful, quite honestly. Like you have to, there has to be a greater cost to it. And if I'm an insurance agent, I mean, look at what the industry we're in. We're in the industry of trust. We have an opportunity to have amazing conversations. I mean, I've never sold a policy, right? I've never sold an insurance policy, to be honest. So I have no clue how to sell insurance. But man, when you pick up the phone every single time, that's a new opportunity to network. Forget the commission for a second. If you focus your effort on the honest, I truly believe this, but remember, I know nothing about selling insurance, so take it with a grain of salt. But if you focus your effort on actually holding a good conversation with that person, you might talk about everything but insurance and you'll sell them way more than what you sold them, what you could probably sold them. I truly believe that, because if you ask the right questions, they may have approached her for auto, but now you've just learned that they have a plan to buy a new home next year. Their ambition is to, build, own a home, a boat. They have ambitions to open a business. You just figured out a lot of things by not just trying to sell them an auto policy because that's what they reached out to you for. So not only it's important to understand what the problem you're trying to solve, but you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you're uncovering by having these conversations. And at the end of the day, what you'll end up having is, unlimited access to a lot of people. I mean, imagine the number of people that you speak with every single day as a sales producer. Like, to me, that's a huge opportunity to network with someone, get to know them. You never know what kind of, where the conversation leads to. At worst, I would say they will purchase what they originally intended to buy from you. Right? If you just have an honest conversation, actually really care. That's the most important part. Actually really care. Ask more questions and speak less. You just do that, you will sell way more. I truly believe that, personally. But I've never sold a policy. So
no, but I've been in the room with plenty of people who talk themselves out of deals because they just can't be quiet.
Mm-hmm. Dude, that was the number one thing. I've brought this up on the podcast before, but back when I was doing the office supply B2B sales, man, like the newer reps, when they would lose out on deals, it would be at the end of like the pitch and we're dropping the close on them and they just don't shut up. They keep going and going.
Features and benefits, man. Features and benefits. They just want to spit
it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming for people. They're like, well, maybe this isn't just as simple as like me needing to buy some toner for my printer. Maybe I need to think about this a little bit, and then it never ends up happening. Yeah, I mean, there's been tons of situations where I've had people call in and they're looking for whatever, let's say auto, and I'm like looking at all the stuff that they're telling me and why they're looking. I'm like, hey, I'm not going to waste your time. Like you're in a good spot. And we go and have some conversation about now maybe you want to add an umbrella to give yourself a little extra layer of protection, because you've got 10. And there's been several times where I don't end up closing that deal, but they're like, hey, I'm gonna get back with you like next year when the rest of my stuff renews. But can I have so and so call you there? And just from a simple conversation of not trying to sell them something, but really just educating them on what they have and what might make sense for them.
That's a long way.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, if you like, one of the most interesting things is, people say all the time, agents say all the time, we don't sell premium, don't sell premium. Look, what are we selling at the end of the day? We're not what we're selling is trust. Like, that's what we're selling, right? Mm-hmm. It's the idea of trust. Like, that's the contract we're selling, a contract between a carrier and this insurer. That's what we're selling. And the best way to build trust is through a relationship. And the best way to build a relationship with someone is get to know them, have an honest conversation, like pause, let them speak, ask a question. And you probably don't even need to talk about insurance and you can still sell insurance.
We never talk about insurance. Never.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm being serious when I say this, but I mean, you're proving a point that we talk about on the podcast all the time. Insurance is the funding mechanism to buy the value prop. We find out what your problems are. Insurance is a symptom of a much larger problem. If your premium goes up, it's not because an underwriter arbitrarily handed you a rate increase. It's because your building has bad construction, or you haven't had it updated in a reasonable amount of time, or you've had auto losses, or you've had work comp issues, or you don't have a return to work program, or you don't understand what soft costs are that are associated with losses. So if we can find out what's really driving it, we can help you with solutions to the problems that are really causing your monetary pain, which are never the insurance itself. The insurance is the last piece you go to. And if we can come in and demonstrate to you that we, number one, are going to ask the questions we need to ask to understand your business, then demonstrate that we actually understand what you told us, and then give you a cursory review of what we would do over the next 12 months to get you back on the rails and fix it the right way. Why would you want to pay me an additional service fee to come in and consult with you when you can allow me to place your insurance and use the commissions derived from that process to fund what we do? You're getting more for less because you're using money you're already spending instead of bringing me in as a consultant. And so it's one of the reasons why we never go out and just shotgun the marketplace with insurance submissions. It's one of the reasons why we're very careful as to who we will bring in by asking the right questions. Not everybody's a great prospect for us. Unfortunately, our industry's done a really good job of teaching people if they just go out to market and get as many quotes as they can, they'll automatically find one that fits their budget. When the reality is the cheapest insurance policy is almost always the most expensive. There's plenty of places that you can cut costs in your budget that are outside of the insurance premiums that you don't even know.
Yeah, it's expensive to be cheap. I mean, that makes total sense. And like how I see somehow, we a little bit segued off topic, but in terms of like agents and how they can, one thing I would like to hit on is when approaching new solutions, new technologies, because I'm at the center of that. I talk to agents that are always talking about solutions and new tools and solving new problems. And one thing that we often forget is that there's 1,000 ways to solve a problem. And I always see this, a pattern in agencies across the board. For example, one thing that's really interesting, a really interesting observation is wanting the product to evolve to their process versus evolving their process to evolve to the new technology.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that's the other big thing that I notice, in addition to not knowing the problem, is you have to be able to embrace change. This industry is changing at a rapid pace, right? And we have to be able to be reactive and embrace this change. So we cannot just, stick in try to figure out how can we automate an old process. Well, what if there's a completely new way of doing it, right? One of the biggest things that I see is that friction in the wrong places. Like we're not empowering our employees as we should be. We have to figure out a way to remove friction so that our producers are also able to sell. So having the right conversations is one thing, right? So often you mentioned that we oftentimes talk ourselves out of a conversation. We also oftentimes burn ourselves out. Man, we're in an industry we have to make so many calls. Our job is difficult as is. So when we approach solutions, we have to approach things from a simple, holistic solution that makes sense. If it's too complicated to understand, if I have to put a PowerPoint presentation to go over a process, then it's too complicated of a process. So we have to also be able to simplify our process so that our employees can focus on selling, providing them the right tools, giving them the right education, which is really, it's as simple as, hey, just have a conversation and embrace failures. And because when you do that and you have the right effort, it's okay. That's just a way for us to learn and move forward.